This is the BASTL Kalimba, a completely unique little synthesizer that's currently breaking the internet. In fact, its Kickstarter is now at 15 times its goal, and it's easy to see why. BASTL sent me this unit about a month ago, and it's been in pretty much constant use since. Before we check it out, for those of you who don't know, the traditional kalimba is an acoustic instrument from Africa. As you can see, it has a bunch of metal tines, and you play it by flicking the tines with your thumb. Well, this is a digital version of that same concept. At first glance, it might seem pretty similar to a classic kalimba, in that it also has tines, and when you flick them, it also makes a sound. Of course, the way it produces sound is completely different, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. It is velocity sensitive. If I press softly, I'm going to get one sound, and if I press harder, it's going to be louder. Right now, I have this thing set in a major key, but you can actually switch it. It comes with 12 scales, and you can change the notes of the scales easily. I'm going to stick with major for the time being so we can check out the rest of the functionality. Let's talk about how this thing generates sound. It has two synthesizer engines, which are controlled by these knobs up here. Probably the easiest way to show you what they do is to just start up a loop. I'm going to do that with the arpeggiator. So you know how I just said that you play this instrument by flicking the tines? Well, the arpeggiator mode's a bit different. You play the arpeggiator by holding your fingers down on the tines. These are capacitive touchpads. The harder you press down, the louder the note will be. Once I have a loop that I like, I can press lock. And now our arpeggiator loop is repeating. Even if I turn the arpeggiator off, it will keep going because it's been locked. I can even play over it. Now that we've got a loop going, we're free to explore the synthesizer engine. This thing has two ways of producing sound, and the blend knob lets us fade between them. On the left side, we have a physical modeling engine. And on the right side, we have an FM engine. I'm going to keep it somewhere in the middle. Each of the 5 remaining knobs controls some aspect of each engine. I'm not going to go into great detail about what these knobs do. Instead, I'm just going to turn each one, and we can hear the difference it makes. We'll start with the timbre knob. Excite. Detune. Body. And decay. This just controls the length of the notes. Between these 6 parameters, you can get a lot of different sounds. Sometimes it's glassy and bell-like. Sometimes it sounds like a plucked instrument. At the bottom, there are 2 additional buttons that modify the sound: wind and soil. There are also these performance modifiers in the left and right trigger spots. They can be assigned to a bunch of different effects, but right now they're set to bend the notes. Check it out. Once you have a sound you like, you can apply effects. There are 8 effects: low pass and high pass, bit crusher and distortion, tape simulator and chorus, and delay and reverb. Playing with the effects is pretty addictive, but we should probably move on. All this time we've been running on batteries. I'm going to plug this in so we can keep going. I'm just going to make a quick ARP loop now. So assuming we like what we hear, we can actually record this as a loop. So what we've recorded here is actually audio, and we can play over it. Or we could add more layers to the loop if we wanted to. Might be a good time to talk about the pad and glide modes. The pad mode does exactly what you think. It allows you to use the synthesizer engine to produce pad sounds. The other performance mode is glide, which turns this into sort of a monosynth with portamento. One thing I haven't tried is using the kalimba with external effects. I have a pedal here, loaded up with a bunch of algorithms I've been working on. Oh, it's really cool. Beautiful cacophony. Let's try one of the other modes. The kalimba's melancholic sound just lends itself really well to delay effects. Should we bring in some other pedals? And just like that, a 30-second experiment turns into a 30-minute ambient session. While I was working on this video, I got curious about the origins of the kalimba as an instrument. 10 years ago, I found this at a thrift store in Philadelphia. I brought it home and did a bunch of research and came to the conclusion that it was something called an mbira. It was a name that seemed to be used pretty much interchangeably with the word kalimba. So when I made a sample library of the instrument, I called it kalimba, not realizing that those were actually two different instruments. The instrument we know today as a kalimba, the one that looks like this, was actually developed in the 1950s by an English guy named Hugh Tracy. Tracy was an extremely famous ethnomusicologist. He traveled throughout Africa recording folk songs. I think he recorded something like 35,000 folk songs in his life. Anyway, one of his favorite regional instruments was the mbira, which was played by the Shona people in what is now Zimbabwe. Archaeological evidence suggests that the mbira has probably existed for about 1,300 years, although similar instruments have existed elsewhere in Africa for millennia. Anyway, the traditional mbira gets tuned a whole bunch of different ways, many of which don't map onto the European 12-tone scale system. So Hugh Tracy produced a version of the instrument that did. Specifically, his was tuned to the key of G. He called his instrument kalimba, which was the Bantu word for little music. This all comes as something of a surprise to me. I had no idea that the kalimba was so modern, although maybe not quite as modern as this thing. What do you think? Should we make another loop? This workflow, setting up a loop, and then using the knobs to slowly morph the sounds as it plays back, has become my go-to way of using the device. Oh, I kind of like this. Should we add the DX7 into the mix? Oh, they sound really good together. I want to thank BASTL for sending me this instrument. I think it's really cool. The traditional kalimba is already a pretty unique instrument. It's highly portable, and because it's tuned to a specific scale, it's really easy to play. I also can't think of any other instrument that's played only with your thumbs. Anyway, BASTL's take on this instrument carries on many of its strengths, but brings it into the age of synthesis. They've also clearly put a lot of thought into what would actually make this instrument fun to use, and the arpeggiator and the audio looper are key. I also think the fact that you can hook it up to MIDI is really smart. The clock can also be synced up, so if you're ever not in the mood to play this as an instrument, you can always connect it to other gear and just use it as another synth engine. Really clever. Okay, I think that's it. Hope you enjoyed this video. See you soon.